Hello, my name is Alun, and tonight I'm facilitating what turns out to be the final session of this series of Eotenweard. We lost one last week because of illness, and we're down to a maximum of 3 players. We're still hoping the third player will appear. If not, we will persevere. You want to know more about Eotenweard and stuff, go back to episode 1. The pitch here is Dark Age heroes traveling the north of England at the end of the 6th century. Doing good, protecting the innocent from monsters. And we completed in our last session the mystery of the darkness overshadowing the settlement of Torhaven in Bernicia. And now we are going to move on from there. We know that one of the players isn't able to come, so our Fae, Dawn, will disappear in the night. As you leave, before you leave, but yeah, if I can point out, there's Matt. Here we go. We'll wait for our third player. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
We've just made a start. I wasn't certain if you were going to be laid up with that shoulder, but it looks like there's something wrong with it.
Yep, but
Oh,
thankfully, lost you. What's that?
but I'm just pleased that you're mobile and stuff.
Oh yeah, it shouldn't be too long, and thankfully, games are something you can do with one arm.
Yes, just need that mouse.
Yeah.
So I was just explaining we've lost our fourth player due to illness. I think on this occasion work. So we'll proceed with the 3 of you, and we will pick up with you leaving Torhaven. So I want to direct you to the leaving tab in the character keeper. Where it says the bottom of the aftermath, it says, finally, as the heroes leave the settlement, the fate asks them to agree which neighboring faction, i.e. kingdom, they will travel into, and triggers full raid. So the setting, you're currently in Bernicia. You could go north into Christian Gododin. You could go northwest into the pagan hill tribes of the North Pennines. You could take the pass between the North and South Pennines into the Christian kingdom of Reged, or you could go south into Saxon Dira. Am I coming through loud?
You are
Slightly distorted, yeah.
Right.
Not a lot, so don't turn it down a
No. Let me see what I can do. Audio settings. Oh, goodness me, yeah. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Up a bit, up.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Bit more.
Oh. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Spot on.
All right. I wonder why that went to maximum. Anyway, I was using it for work earlier on. Maybe I had to shout at people. Anyway, so you got some options: north or west into Christian kingdoms, south into a Saxon kingdom, or northwest into a pagan's kingdom, pagan hill tribe country. Do we have a preference, Casey?
No real preference. No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Matt, what do you? No, you're not obliged to have a preference, Casey. You're not obliged. Matt, what do you? What do you have a preference?
I mean, I think we were just in a relatively quiet village that had a little bit of representation from all sides, but it could be interesting to go to a big, bustling Christian place. I think that could be cool. I also be happy to get super pagan and weird. I don't know, we could roll a D3. What do you think, Paul?
Pagans are always nice to bash about. Nobody seems really too offended by that.
Well, shall we go pagan hill tribes then? I mean, depending on what happens on the way, who knows? You may never get there. So you are heading northwest to the pagan hill tribes of the North Pennines, and I will trigger full array. That's my best pronunciation of Old English Anglo-Saxon. Its translation is the fates are wholly inexorable. So as the heroes travel to the next settlement, the hero with the lowest favor rolls plus favor. Who is that person?
That is me.
Congratulations. Oh, it's still positive, still one. Could
Oh,
be a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
worse.
Not too-
So you are rolling 2d6 plus 1.
Well, there
A
we go.
5 plus 1 is a 4 plus 1 is 5. Well. So that is a fail. On a 6 minus, the fate will say how each hero begins the next key scene at disadvantage. The question of what that key scene will be comes down to you three. As you are traveling northwest, you will meet a group of travelers on the road. And you have an option to tell me what it is you learned from those travelers. Do they describe an ill that you are drawn to address? Do they tell of a warband of raiders heading towards Torhaven, keen to destroy it? Or do they invite you to share their campfire? Matt, do you have a preference?
I'd like to veto ill since we just explored some of that subject matter. I
Okay.
think so. The other two both sound interesting.
Paul, give you second pick to split, invite you to share their campfire, or tell of a warband of raiders heading for Torhaven.
Do we have a lot of favour with Torhaven across the...
Torhaven are allied to you. You did sufficiently well with them.
Yes, and Casey's got they owe him a favour and they owe me too.
They do.
So warbanding's quite good when you've got a lot of favour, I believe, isn't it?
Well, that may have been the way the rules were written, Paul, the last time you've played them. I of course couldn't comment any further than that. So are we, what do you think, Casey? Are you up for a warband of raiders?
Yeah. That sounds interesting. Yeah.
So I then have to ask, I imply the answer here, you wouldn't have chosen it. If so, the fates ask the heroes if they will intervene to save the settlement or not. I'm assuming you will. Okay. I will now trigger raiders. Let me just find that tab. So many moves, guys. Who knew? So the raiders tab, I've moved it up towards your end of the hero end of the character keeper. The way this works is that you can call your allies, and your allies are just Torhaven. But I want to know how Torhaven knows that you are calling to them. How do they learn of this? Is this, one of those travelers passes on the message that you're calling Torhaven's warriors to aid you? Or is there something more, I don't know, occult, supernatural? Don't know.
I'd certainly be happy to send a frightful talking crow, but we could do it the normal way too.
Yes, the frightful talking crow. And the crow is a symbol of war for them, because it's their war banner is a bunch of crow wings.
And they had forgotten that.
There you go. Have a crow, build on a crow. So yes, let's just cut to what do we see in Torhaven, and I'll leave the village down there near Raiders. What do we see? Because I should just point out that Beardred, the thoughtful heir, is a goner. But what do we see happening with any of those NPCs when I guess that Garthric, the priest of Woden, interprets the arrival of the crow as danger and a call to follow you northwest with Lord Gundhair's main force?
I'd like to just say that the crow flies in and probably careens to a rough landing in the center of town before letting out a squawk of danger. But before it does that, I think we just see Tara, the cowardly herder, just go, not again.
Yes. What do you think? Hang on, I must. Oh, Casey and Matt, can you relabel your windows as your characters? Althea, I'm curious. What do we see Hrothmunda, the dangerous champion, doing?
I think he went to relabel his window.
Oh, he did.
I did, but
sorry.
No, you're fine. Probably just like, ooh, yeah, it's the scene of emptying the weapons locker, right? Or arming the folks that are gonna go with her. Taking spears off the wall and all that good stuff.
And I think, of course, Tar, the cowardly herder, is dragooned into this. Though he's not as cowardly as he was. I think our aftermath last time described him as feeling perhaps slightly less hang out to dry, though not entirely. And what about the bitter spouse? What about Lord Gund here, Black Seren? Does Hrothmunda lead the warriors away, or is it naive Lord Gundyr?
I think we'll see naive Lord Gundyr. It's maybe the end of the naive Lord.
Fine. Leaving his bitter spouse in charge, though not as bitter as she was, because now he needs a new heir. So relationships have changed on that front, perhaps. Okay, so I know who's going to be there. So the way the battles work are a little bit the way that combat in this game works, confronting the threats. This warband that you need to intercept and stop begins with 3 significant advantages over you. Unless you can stop them, they're going to have the benefit of position. So they're going to be able to array their warband in an advantageous position that is going to put you and your allies at risk. They are going to have the advantage of numbers, unless you can in some way distract them, disperse them, divert them. And they're also going to have the advantage of confidence, unless you can undermine that. And there are 4 moves that you can enact before this battle to try to undermine those advantages they bring to the battlefield. They are across the top there. Spy out the land, surprise them, inspire them, and then finally one of you will lead your warband into battle. Spy out the land. When you scout ahead in search of an advantageous battlefield, roll plus sense. Surprise them. When you propose an ambush or deception that you hope will surprise or mislead some of the raiders, roll plus subtle. When you move to the front of your warband and declare your belief in the inevitability of your victory, roll plus favor. And finally, when you lead them, take your place in the front rank of the shield wall and show your skill at arms, roll plus steel. So each of you will choose to make one of those moves in that order. So I'm looking for a candidate to spy out the land.
There is only 3 of us, and there's 4 moves there.
Then the 4th move will go wherever you want it to go.
Okay.
Yeah. But first of all, I'm looking for a volunteer to spy out the land. Who wants to step up and roll plus sense?
We've got a very sensy person here.
I suppose I could, but I'm trying to round out my XP markers. I was looking at surprising, but if we want to power game this, I can
yeah, what's the point of playing a role-playing game if you don't min-max this somehow?
Is Althea one who would be doing the scouting, or Casey, is there one of the other moves that you're interested in?
Well, I mean, the advantage for Althea is that I would give the roll with advantage for the benefit of the hawk on this, if Althea wanted to step up and roll plus sense, but with advantage.
But we're all rolling at disadvantage anyway.
Well, that would cancel out. So Althea will be rolling flat.
So I think the disadvantage is basically there is a monumental storm, and the ground is sodden, visibility is low. They are uphill, we are downhill. It is not an advantageous position we are in. We are clearly at disadvantage.
Okay, so Althea, are you keen to try and scout out the land using the advantage the hawk presents to you? All it costs you is owing your god a debt, as I remember.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's make it happen.
3d6, take the top 2 and add sense.
Okay, 3d6.
Oh my.
Yep.
That is a 4, a 1, and a 1, I see.
Yep.
Now, there is always the option, remember, in the common moves to seek your patron's help, or to ask another hero for help. Are you interested in improving that, or are you going to settle for the for what is a 5, I think?
Why did we do 3 dice?
Oh, we shouldn't have done it. Should have been 2. I'll take the first 2. Sorry, I was thinking advantage still. It's
So
either way,
a
it's
reroll of the
terrible.
1 would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm distracted by thoughts of a general election finally. So, you know, I'm too excited by the thought of getting the Tories out to be concentrating. So forgive me. Okay.
I can assist, or do you want to turn to your god, which you've got quite a lot.
I think I'll turn to my god.
Okay,
that feels the most appropriate. Because
you are a hunter, the hawk is scouting for you. It's a no-brainer. It's within your wheelhouse. So simply owe your god a debt and re-roll the 1 or the 4.
Okay.
I wonder which one you'll choose.
Yeah.
So roll it. Oh, that's better. So is that a 7 all told? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So on a 7, on 7 plus, describe a feature of the battlefield that benefits your warband and denies the raiders the benefit of position. And there are some suggestions. Is it a ford or ditch they'll have to cross to attack you? Do you hold, in fact, the high ground? Find some higher ground above the ground that we've had described. Can you protect one end of your position with a marsh or some other difficult or impassable terrain? Is there some other feature of the battlefield that benefits you? What is it?
Yeah, it feels like maybe we're in like some cover, like maybe we're like coming out of like a forest or some sort of like area like that out into a more open area where they have the hill, but we're going to be able to draw them down into a tighter quarters, maybe. I think
Fine.
it feels good.
Fine. Forest. We've got a forest. Great. Okay. Who would be interested in surprise them? Winifred, were you expressing an interest?
I like the sound of
Or
that.
were you wanting to inspire later on?
I'm thinking surprise them would be fun.
Okay, so when you propose an ambush or deception that you hope will surprise or mislead some of the raiders, roll plus subtle. And this could well build on the fact we have a forest and they may not know you're all in there. But go ahead. 3d6.
At disadvantage.
3d6, bottom
Yes.
2, add subtle.
So before we do, I will roll my dream to dream move.
Oh,
to have my D6 ready to go.
Thank you.
And we'll figure out what sort of dreams I've been having.
Yes, last time they weren't nice.
No. 5 and a 6.
Good dreams.
Exceptional.
Exceptional. So you get to sit on both of those dice rolls. On a 10 plus, you could even re-roll the lowest d6 and decide whether you wanted to keep it or not. So you could re-roll the 5 and hope for a 6. And if not, just take the 5.
I think I'll just take the 5.
Okay.
That's solid.
So you've got a 5 and a 6 sitting on the shelf waiting to replace any number you choose today. So with that in mind then, let's have you roll 3d6, take the bottom 2, and add subtle.
Here goes. Take the, oh yeah, I put a +1 in there. So that's a 2, and a +1. And this is surprising them, and I would like to deny them the benefit of numbers. So let's just go ahead and throw that 5 right in there.
Fine, fine. So 5 and 2 is going to get you into 7 to 9. On 7+, describe how your plan denies them the benefit of numbers. And there are some
Sure.
suggestions, or is there something else? What is it?
I'll do that, and I'll also describe the how my a dream finally makes sense and I act upon it.
Fine.
It roughly, at least. I think last night, or maybe it was the night before, when I had an evening to unwind with the prisoners we had freed and with the members of my party, and I think we had maybe had some music for the first time in some time. And so I think my dreams were full of drums and flutes and pipes and that sort of thing. And maybe heartbeats. And I think what I do is I take out a drum, a hand drum, and I start playing up a rhythm, a bit of a battle rhythm, but it's also a dance. And I think the rhythm sort of takes on a life of its own. And with this storm kicked up and the fog in the air and the visibility unclear, I want sounds of additional fighters or even hoof beats or something to be moving through the forest around where they're approaching, so that they get into a formation that affords us some opportunities.
Fine. Yeah, I'm seeing some of them being sent to screen the flank that this cavalry is heard on. No, I like that a lot. That's very cool. So inspire them, Black Seren.
Indeed.
When you move to the front of your warband and declare your belief in the inevitability of victory, roll +favor.
So I mean, I doubt that many of them are even mounted at all. So I will just sort of patrol up and down the front.
Yeah.
With my lance held high. So this is lots of disadvantage, but I am going to call in one of my favors with Torhaven. I have 2 of them.
Go on, tell me about it.
And that's going to be the champion. Is clearly already on side, basically, and will chimney along her people alongside me. So basically it's a 2 for 1-sy. So it will be that classic Henry V speech, and gentlemen in England, now abed shall think themselves accursed, they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap while any speak, for today is St. Crispin's Day. They'll just look at each other and not have a clue what St. Crispin's Day is.
Exactly, because they're Saxons. But that's
Saxons.
It sounds very impressive.
Yes.
And Rothmunder is going,
and it might just fizzle out at this stage. We shall see. So it's just 2d6.
Well, just hang on a sec. I just want to make sure the other 2 realize what you've done mechanically.
Yeah, sure.
Because
go ahead.
On the debts tab, it says erase a debt a faction owes you when you agree with the fates how the debt could be spent by a named individual enters the scene intending to aid you. That's Rothmunder. Yeah. And in both cases, that grants you advantage, which cancels the disadvantage you're starting this scene with because of the conditions, and 2d6 +favor.
Indeed. That's down on line 67. And just to note, Casey, you also have a +1 favor. So, call
Bear that in mind.
We probably will not come back to Torhaven again.
Certainly not tonight.
2d6. Now, my favor is 1.
There you go.
Don't get much better than that, does it?
It doesn't. It only gets 1 better than that. So that is 11 + 1 is 12. So on a 7+, describe what you say and how it denies the enemy the benefit of confidence. Your troops are up.
I just think morale you know, after looking at each other, you know, St. Crispin must be a great Christian warrior. He is with us.
And I just want to bear in mind that in the case of all 4 moves, if you roll 10 plus and you can weave the preparations we've now got, so forest, distracting hoofbeats, and a prayer to St. Crispin, or Crispian, I never quite know. If you can weave those into the scenes that each of you will have in the battle, then you will roll with advantage. None of you rolled a 6 on that, so a 6 or less, so you won't approach what happens next at disadvantage. So we have then denied them the advantage of position. We have denied them the advantage of numbers as they are drawn aside by the sound of approaching allies. And you have rocked their confidence, or you've raised the confidence of your warband. So they're approaching this, instead of at +3, they're approaching it at 0. So relatively few of them are coming to the forest because they don't believe you're in there. Your warband is raring to go, and they think the main force is off there in the driving rain and the mist. What could go wrong? Lead them. When you take your place in the front rank of the shield wall and show your skill at arms, roll plus steel. Who wants to lead this? I think I kind of know.
Well, I actually think a battle should always be opened by some bow fire. So actually, I think the initial set off before the warband charges really probably should be not my character. Should really be Althea.
Althea, the bow person.
Unless Althea runs to the back. But that's not Althea's style.
No.
So what I'm seeing is Althea calling, because there'll be a handful of people armed with hunting bows in the people that have accompanied Gundir and Rothmunda to the battlefield. I see them kind of coming out of the woods. It looks like, you know, it's a string of not particularly well armed or armored people, and you unleash hell, Althea. So roll plus steel.
Now, is this a position with Althea could call in her?
Could do. If you want to call in the debt that you have with Torhaven, Althea, this could mean that more of them come forward with bows, for instance.
Sure.
So there's some quite good descriptors.
There are. Underneath lead them, if you want to kind of build something on
lead
that.
them, which maybe depending on your dice roll, you might want to sort of use one of them to describe what you do.
Sure. What is there something I have to like? Can I just call that favor in to use it for the advantage, or like do I have to set that up somehow? Or
sure. I mean, you know, you can frame a brief scene where you call on Rothmunda to, you know, get all your archers, whatever you want.
Sure,
as long
sure.
as it
I think it's more of
somebody.
trying to incentivize like protecting what's back at home, right? Like, because I had a bond with one of the victims sort of last time or whatever, so it's like, you know, the women and children or you know, the infirm, whatever's left back at the village, like if we don't stop these people, then it's all gone, right? So it's on us here.
I like that. Roll plus steel.
Sweet.
And it would be at disadvantage, but it isn't because you've
would it be at disadvantage because you've
already had one? No.
Everyone's had a disadvantage. So I think the storm breaks, and there is that sort of beam of sunshine comes down on Althea just as she pulls back her bow.
Bowstring's drying out as we watch. 3d6 top 2
3
plus steel.
Okay, well, 2 gave me 2 ones, so I'll roll another. I'll roll another one. Okay, no. So that doesn't help either.
Wow.
So that'll be like a 4 or whatever. Yeah.
Oh
5.
my god. Okay. Well, again, Althea, you always have the option to boost this or seek the aid of another hero. Or another hero could offer you aid if they wanted to. But first, you need to decide: do you want to invest another debt in Woden?
Yeah, let's make drive it like it's stolen.
Exactly. You know, you don't have to survive beyond tonight. And you may want a hero's death, pushing a
Yeah,
longboat
exactly.
out on a river aflame. So fine. Then you can re-roll one or both. So you could re-roll both the ones if you wanted to.
Yeah, gonna do that. 2d6.
No,
Have
no,
you got?
that's good.
Yeah, it is,
Because
but
you
it's a
a 6 and a 2, and you're at
Okay,
+2 anyway. So actually,
nice.
roll 10.
Sweet.
yeah. That's I the one shocked me again. You seem to have a monopoly on ones.
Yeah.
So no, that goes very well on a 10 plus. So you will enter the next stage at advantage, Althea. But tell me the effect of this kind of wave of arrow fire on the what's actually looking like quite a sparse shield wall ahead of you right now.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, is it maybe do we no, that doesn't, let's see here. Maybe the person who's leading that shield wall, maybe not the leader of the whole thing, right? But like the person, like the lieutenant or whatever, right, that's in charge of that particular section, is brought down with the first salvo.
I like that. Yeah, I think it is the champion. You know, they're
Yeah.
stripping off their jerkin to just
Right.
show how
Yep.
they're not afraid of you, and they're waving their shield and their axe at you and wallop straight to the throat. And there's their warband is beginning to get up and then so what that does is you have both, you've eroded both numbers, position, and confidence. So they are now at disadvantage. So there is one disadvantage to be used against them in the next stage, which is all about each of you finding yourself in a tight corner. Yeah. So when the battle begins, the Fate uses each hero's framing of their spy out the land, surprise them, inspire them, and lead them move to describe a vignette in which each in turn finds themselves in mortal danger. So let me start with Winifred. Winifred, you went off into the mist to summon these sounds to have the old gods amplify the sound of that drum. But what I think probably that has done is one of those warriors out there hears the drum, not the hoofbeats. And out of the mist charges this hairy warrior. What do you do?
Well, I'm looking at my character keeper and I see that I have 3 checks and there's only one unchecked. And the one unchecked is steel. And maybe the drums have kindled my spirit, and I'm maybe this is a pagan warband, right?
Yes.
Maybe I'm loosely familiar with these types of people, and maybe they've wronged me or mine in the past, and maybe my blood is boiling, and I pull a knife, and I want to try to are they mounted or are they afoot?
Let me just tie this into our pre-story, because we know that the Fae Dawn, who disappeared one night several nights ago, there's a place of power to his Fae crown in this hill country. And his worry about that power was if it wasn't contained, it would corrupt humanity, mortals. How is that corruption obvious in the figure that launches itself on foot out of the mist?
Let's go with a classic and say that this warrior is is sort of the drums are almost hypnotizing them and driving them into a fervor. Maybe even their feet are stepping in time and sort of can't resist each beat as both the battle mania and the dancing fever have combined here.
Frothing at the mouth, they come at you. I believe
Yes.
you have a cudgel.
Yes, I should look at my sheet. I do have a cudgel, a simple cudgel that has been hidden to this point. This is the
Yeah.
first we see of it. Let's see.
And they have a shield and an axe. And this vignette is resolved around a single roll to face the challenge they present to you.
I see. So in Raiders, mortal danger is what we're rolling here.
Yup.
Okay. And what am I rolling with here? Am I using one of the common moves?
No, you're using face a challenge, and you succeed or you don't.
Okay, great. Then
Roll to steal.
in the interest of honesty, looking at my my burden, nope, my temptation, nope, my burden.
Yeah.
It's curiosity, and I have -2 to face a challenge.
Oh my. Yes, what is odd about this figure? Gee whiz.
I think that you've described them as big and hairy. I think I look at their hair and it's like tangled and it looks to be like growing as they're running at me, or there's something strange about it.
There's
Like they're being
strange.
like part of the woods or something like that.
Oh, yes, maybe beginning to look like root hairs or something similar. Yes, that's very fey. Then 2d6 plus steel -2. Unless you have a debt with Torhaven that you can somehow leverage into this.
I don't know that I managed to get one. I didn't record it at least, so let's go ahead and roll -3. Okay. That's a 7.
Well, look at that.
Even if I put in my 6, it's still only a 9. So
oh well, I mean, that's pretty cool. So on to face a challenge, on a 7+, you succeed. But I get to pick one. What does your success look like?
I think I'm using the trees here as cover and as my allies. So I'm weaving around as I play and trying to cast the drum beats off of the different tree trunks to sort of confuse this person. And then as they round a tree, I sort of jump out and just give them a bonk in the right place.
And they go down in a heap.
I mean, I'm in my 50s. This is crone style, warfare.
Exactly. Out behind a tree and hit them from behind hard at the base of the skull. Bang! He's down. But I get to inflict something on you, and it is going to be harm, because I think that you take 1 harm, because as you say, you are quite aged, and you are not built for this. I think you strain your arm as you are beating the brains out of this figure, and maybe kneeling over him to make sure the job is done. I don't know. But we will cut from that before unless you want to describe, because I've got gore in the interested. If you want to, if you want some gore in this,
that's all right. I'll leave it for the PbtA Black, but I just want to shout out the character bleed of my level 1 harm.
There you go. There you go. I unconsciously, I'm clearly influenced.
It's great.
Such is the power of your shoulder. Okay, moving along then. Casey, Althea is in the woods. And that warband, despite having taken down their champion, that warband is coming at you now. Yeah. I think that as your people fall back into the woods, there is a bit of chaoticness creeps in. And you find yourself separated as one of these warriors, hill warriors, is racing down on you again with an axe, and is getting closer Down here in the valley, maybe it's not quite as misty. They're charging at you. You find yourself isolated from the people who might be able to back you up. What do you do? And you have advantage on this one because of that roll.
Yeah. I feel like it's just or maybe it's not. Maybe I like reach still holding my bow, reach for the quiver and it's empty, right? So then it's down to axe, I guess, in this situation, I think. And that's probably yeah, I think that's just straightforward, right? Like
Okay.
face to face.
The way that hunters do it. So you're rolling 3d6, taking the top two, and you're adding, sounds like steel.
Steel, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see how that goes.
So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think is what that's going to end up at.
9.
Right? Steel's at a 2, 9. Okay.
9. Content with that, or do you want to go for a 10?
Yeah, no, that feels right.
Okay. How does is this a, you know, he feints, you deflect? What do we see on screen as you take him out?
I think my hawk swoops down at like just the right moment to sort of like get him to raise his shield up, and then like quick as lightning, just right in there, you know, axe to the bottom half of the jaw, sort of like yeah.
I'm very happy to see that jaw fly across the battlefield.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that in that flurry of blows, you're going to take 1 harm. That's
Awesome.
going to be my 7+ option. Seren the Black, what do we see of you? I can't remember if you're at an advantage or a disadvantage.
Yeah, I did. I rolled
You did.
11. Yeah.
So I'm seeing, you know, there's been this flurry of activity at the front between the archers. They've retreated, been pursued into the forest, where you and the, you know, spear and axe armed warriors are ready to receive. Mounted or not, up to you.
Well, I've already got advantage anyway. You can't have double advantage, can you?
You can't from the horse, no.
So yeah, I think it is a ground battle.
Fine.
But of course, I am suffering from pride, so there'd be no reason for me to really hold back with the rest of my group. So it is a lone sort of charge forward into a group.
So as the archers fall back, a single Christian sword of God charges out into the open.
Yes, with me, not looking backwards. Okay.
So again, isolated. Face a challenge as maybe a couple of these guys come at you.
I'm facing the challenge with steel, so I'm at -2, but I have steel of 2, so that's even Stevens. And I'm rolling at advantage because the setup with inspire them. So let's see how that goes. 7.
7. So I think, tell me how you take out these two guys, and then your shield wall patches up.
So I think this is charging with the spear, because I actually don't have a shield. And I easily skewer one of them, but basically as I'm pulling my spear out to then flick it round and get the other one, he gets the drop on me a bit. My shield does a little bit, but yeah, his axe will scrape off my shield, past my malco, and get me on the back of the leg, taking 1 harm.
1 harm, and then down he goes. Fine. So these little vignettes have been played out. There is now a full-scale shield wall on shield wall pushing match going on, slaughter widely going on. Still a significant number of them lost in the mist, pursuing some distant and unheard, you know, I'd never seen horsefolk. And we come to shatter them. When the hero's warband presses forward and seeks to end the battle decisively, whoever rolled to lead them rolls plus shield wall. -1 for each position, number, or confidence that the enemy retains. You get to roll with shield wall, which is the 0 we've got plus your single ally, the warriors, Althea, of Torhaven. So 2d6 +1, unless you've got a way to leverage that into an advantage.
I guess the only idea I have for the advantage would be to somehow get Winifred to like amplify the drums to make it sound like there's horses coming out of the woods behind us as like the foot soldiers make our clash. But
I think probably at this point Winifred is off there in still in the mist, seeing off this peculiarly haired frothing dancer.
Yeah, definitely.
So
then it feels pretty straightforward at that point.
Fine.
I think
2d6 +1.
All right, there's some hot dice. That'll be an 11.
In 11, okay. 7+. You shatter the raiders' warband, and the survivors flee before you. Each hero in turn describes their contribution to this victory, and there are some suggestions, though feel free to embellish them. Let me start with Seren the Black.
Can I go actually after the battle?
Oh yeah, that's
There's
fine.
one of them that actually fits quite well.
Okay. Winifred, what is your contribution to the ending this battle and seeing this warband of raiders off? How do you contribute to the significant success of Shatter Them?
Well, I'm in the woods. I think I make a call to the horned god as I stare down into this wicked man's eyes, and my eyes go full black as he spends his last moments staring into the abyss, and I let out a primal cry and I guess bash the life out of him. And I think all of the warriors who have set upon Torhaven feel a moment of primal fear of the woods around them, as though their home or this place is angry and craves their blood to feed the roots of these trees.
Fine, and maybe we might even see some roots begin to move across the ground into some of the bodies.
I'd just add that maybe the Fae's home is having an effect on me as well as the pagans here.
Okay, a little bit of we may be looking for wrath soon. Althea, what about you? What is your contribution to this shattering victory?
I think it's just as simple as sending many foes to Woden's corpse hall, where they will one day greet you as an old friend. I think there's like in the charge, I think Althea sort of ends up next to Black Seren, right? And maybe we're like the first two to break the shield wall and sort of get behind, and it's a massacre, right? Yeah, just feels like maybe that's sort of side by side, back to back sort of thing, like just laying waste. It feels like, yeah.
I like that. Seren the Black, you wanted to go last.
You're muted, Paul.
Okay, so yeah, it says there, show mercy to the fallen foe as the Christian God, as the Christ God demands. And I think I am going to play this with, so we have had this zealous outburst of violence as myself and Althea have killed many pagan warriors, but as the battle lulls and it's clear that we've won, and maybe Althea is putting them under a knife, sort of on my half of the battlefield, I will actually tend to the fallen wounded, and say, Christ has absolved you of your sins. You're free to go. Don't trouble these people anymore. So instead of putting them under the knife, I will tend their wounds and set them free.
Because that sounds a lot like you resisted the attraction of overzealous violence.
Yeah, because that would have been easily to go through that, and in the name of Christ, I put you down,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And while I'm at it, Winifred, I think we saw the influence of your burden, just by the by, in terms of end of session XP. And yes, I think we saw Althea step into the unknown first, taking the lead when maybe it wasn't an obvious thing to do. So yeah, that works for me. So 10 plus is what you achieved. So that's the 7 plus. On 10 plus, each hero agrees with the fates how their description leads to them either being owed a debt, and by whom, or marking XP. Black Seren?
They still owe me a debt anyway. I had 2 for them, so I'm going to take XP as an option.
Fine. This
Yes.
isn't the kind of end of session. This
No.
is just take an XP.
Take an XP, yes.
Okay.
So God is clearly shining upon me.
Winifred, do you want a favor? And if so, with which side? Or do you want an XP?
So now, once I've filled those 4 boxes, do I clear them and mark a single XP?
You do.
And so then if I take an additional XP, then I'll be up to 6 and I'll be able to take a move.
Clear and take an advance. Yeah, exactly.
I'll do it. I'd love, as much as I'd love a debt from the old woods or something like that, I'll mark that full.
Okay, we'll come back to that advance in a moment. You might want to go down to the bottom of the character sheet where there's a list of advances. Althea, what about you? XP, or are you interested in a favor?
I mean, I feel like it's take a debt from Torhaven, but
or from the hill tribes, into whose lands you are about to travel.
Oh, interesting. Sure.
And if so, how does that come about?
Any leverage?
Yeah, maybe they get the 2 women confused and think maybe Althea has actually healed some of them and set them free.
Maybe one of them had something very important on them that you now have in your possession.
No, that's not quite how that would work. That would be a trophy or some other kind of benefit.
It'd be ransom more than a debt.
Right.
I mean, maybe you do notice what Black Seren is doing, and as you're about to kill some chieftain.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I think that's all right. That works a bit. Maybe it's. Yeah. Maybe it's a sense of like, oh man, like I don't want to walk around here and just like, these like whoever's left. Yeah. Like sort of injured or whatever. I don't know if I'm like actively helping, but I'm not going around like just killing people who are laying
So some
helpless.
are kind of limping away, and you're not pursuing them in a bloodlust.
Yeah.
On this occasion, murder hobo no more.
Yeah,
Yes.
for now.
So go down to where it says debts, and where it says settlement or faction, put hill tribes, and they owe you a debt.
Cool.
And you are victorious. Victorious when the heroes and their warriors roam the battlefield, pillaging the dead and or thanking their patrons for their glorious victory. The fates will ask each of them what they scavenged from their fallen foes and add it to their playbook. An item of gear from your gear list, a charm or trophy that confers advantage, or an insight that remains undefined until you use it in a future revelation. What do you think? Winifred, what are you interested in?
I'm thinking maybe a charm to Camulos or something, some kind of like warrior's talisman. I'm just gonna look at my gear though. Maybe there's something really nice on there. Oh, it's just one of the boxes we hadn't checked, right?
Yeah, afraid so.
Okay.
So yeah, your gear list is very short.
Yeah, a really nice stick. Yeah, let's go
Long
with some.
stick, short stick.
I could be Gandalf. I'll go with yeah, a talisman of war, maybe smudged with the blood of this warrior before they had charged.
Add that in one of the free lines on your gear.
Sure.
Althea, what about you? Looking for a new bit of gear that's already on your list that you weren't able to choose first thing, or insight, charm, or trophy?
I think yeah, trophy probably. As like yeah. Yeah, I wonder if it's some sort of like I'm thinking since I'm a hunter, it might be like a claw necklace or something like that, right? That one of these uh pagans had on them. That is just sort of nice. Feels right or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Add that to your gear list. Claw and necklace, and put next to it advantage bracket, just so you don't forget it's worth an advantage to you later on. Seren the Black, what about you?
We may not get to use it, but I'm going to take an insight.
Something that
yeah.
currently means nothing to you, but may later suddenly make sense. So go ahead, make a note that you have an undefined insight to play with later on. That's remarkable timing, guys. It is 2 minutes to the hour. So I'm going to suggest that we take until 5. Is 5 past the hour long enough, or do you want a bit longer? Because I know you may be eating lunch or something. I don't know. 5 past the hour.
Yeah, that should be okay.
I'll see you then. So back from the intermission in the aftermath of the battle, and it's a bit embarrassing in a way, because while Torhaven's warriors turn round and march back southeast, you're kind of following the line of retreat of the fleeing raiders, and it is, that's the way that your feet are guided by your supernatural patrons to a settlement in need of your help. So we are back to settlement creation, folks, in the hill settlement of Dunmona. And this runs exactly like the previous one. So each one of you is going to create a significant person. But before we get to that, let's deal with signs and portents.
Do we not get a shared campfire?
No, you get to pick one of those.
Okay. So from that, it went to battle instead of okay.
Yeah. So signs and portents. When the heroes are first coming to the settlement, I will ask you what seems off about it. Yeah. So describe something unusual, concerning, or suspicious they can see from a distance. Refer to some emotional memory the sight of the settlement stirs in them. Be more allegorical. Say something more flavorful. Anything you like. Let me start this time with Winifred. You're our dreamer of dreams. I'm curious what we see or hear or sense as you come into the valley in which these kind of rough, stony hills rising above Dunmona.
I think traveling through the day, it's a gradual shift, but it comes on us quicker than we'd think, that all the trees and the wildlife, especially the plant life, is getting bigger and bigger. And when we come out and look on the valley, the trees are scraping the sky and the mighty branches are reaching across like grasping arms. There's nettles choking other plants. I think there's a general sense of uncontrolled, untamable wildness.
That's a good phrase. Untamable wildness. Okay.
Just speaking to our missing player here and their home or their sacred place.
And that sense of some aspect of the Fey realm being loose in the world, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Althea, what is it that you draw attention to, or we see in a flashback, or we see as you look on the village?
I think the village has made an attempt. I think it's like scorched earth, like out from the village into this like extreme like overgrowth or whatever, in a way to like keep it away from the village, right? Like they've cut down trees and they've burned the grass back as far as they can. It's not very far, but there's a distinctive like ring of 100 yards or whatever around the village that's been burned black and just sort of like, uh, yeah, yeah.
And maybe we can see the smoking, stumps of trees that they've
Yeah.
tried, and the piles of where they've hacked down stuff and made bonfires. Yeah, I like that. Let me call that smoking bonfires. Okay, Seren.
So I think on the night before we came here, I had a dream of David versus Goliath. Goliath was a giant, and it may have been me throwing the
Sling stone.
stone at the giant.
Say no more. Okay. So there is something here about untamable wildness, overgrowth, and efforts to contain it or to drive it back, and a sense of the little guy versus the big guy. Okay, that works for me. So let us then think about our significant people. I started with Winifred, so I'll stick with Winifred, I think, as first off here. Descriptor and role in the village. Who do you want to have a part to play here?
We've got 4, 6, and 6, 4. Let's go with vicious. Yeah. And then let's go again. Oh, it's a vicious healer or a vicious loon.
Take your pick.
I kind of like the juxtaposition of vicious healer.
Vicious healer.
Maybe a very angry doctor or medicine person who all of a sudden has an abundance of patience.
Okay. I've put a vicious healer in the village. If you want to check out a British name for that healer and gender them for me, or pronoun them for me, I'd be grateful.
Sure.
Althea. Who does Althea want to, or what? Who does Casey want Althea to potentially encounter in this village?
Sure. Interesting. How about a generous captive?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Generous and captive. Now, you can decide the heritage of that captive. Are they also local pagans, in which case it would be a British name? Are they a captured Christian Briton, or are they a captured Saxon? Take your pick. I will bung them into the village. You give them a name. Well, if I could spell generous, I would have put it in there, but Generous, generous cap. That's what they say in Suffolk, isn't it? Oh, generous.
Generous.
Black Seren, who do you want to be part of our story?
I'm going to have a perverse priest of Freya.
It's going to be, because it's a pagan British
okay.
one, it's going to be a perverse priest of the old gods.
Oh, even better, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Priest
So-
of Nyarlathotep.
Oh God, I wish I could type. I'd be so much more
The
useful.
old gogs.
The old dogs, yes. Oh dearie me. Okay, perverse.
Yes, I will name.
Give him or her a British name and give me some pronouns. And I will name the Lord here. Well, actually, in this condition, he's a chief. And I will roll 2 dice d6 to come up with a decent name for him. 5 and 5, or her, that'd be good. 5 and 5. So 5 and 5. I think we'll have Tanwen. She, her. And what is her characteristic? Again, why not roll the 2d6 that you've designed, Reese? 4, 3 or 3, 4. 3, 4 is honest. 4, 3 is malicious. I think I'm going to go with honor because we've got a perverse priest, a vicious healer. I think Tanwen is going to be honest.
Otherwise, he'd be a real nasty band of pagans.
They would, and you just leave them to themselves. They deserve all they get, all they get. So, honest chief Tanwen, Effa, the perverse priest of the old gods, Sinog, Kinnog, the vicious healer, and Kadok, the I have to change that. Generous. Generous. There we are. How did the R get there? Generous captive. Okay, these are our characters who will be in play this evening. But we also get to create 2 interesting, potentially local locations. So let me first go to Paul. Black Seren. Does Black Seren select descriptor or place?
I'm gonna go for a bog.
A bog. Okay. So we have a bog. A peat bog, because they probably burn turf here. Casey, Althea gets to decide what that bog is like. Which descriptor would you like?
Unholy sounds good.
Unholy bog. Don't go into the bog. It's good because
No.
it's an open question. Yeah, never get off the boat, never go in the bog. Matt, on Winifred's behalf, do you want to pick out a characteristic, a descriptor, or the nature of the place?
Maybe talking to our faith themes, I'm going to go with treacherous.
Okay. Treacherous. What is treacherous? I think that brings me round to Seren. Paul, you get to make 2 picks. There's only 3 of you.
Are we on the coast?
We're in the highlands of the North Pennines.
Clearly not.
You could have a lake.
No, let's go for a monolith.
Ooh. Okay. Treacherous monolith. Okay. So we have an unholy bog, a treacherous monolith. Thank you. Now, I would normally spend a bit of time giving you a chance to illustrate Effa being perverse, Kadok being generous, and Kinnog being vicious. But I think given that we are a bit on the clock this evening to try and complete the mystery here, we'll settle for what we've got. I'll hide those names for now. I have set the depth of shadow here as a mere 3, because we are under some time pressure. It's, you know, this is easy peasy lemon squeezy. So let's go back to what's going to happen then. So the shadows manifest. Casey, does Althea, as you approach the village, do you notice the inciting incident at or just outside the settlement's boundary, maybe among these kind of smoking cleared areas, within the boundary, somewhere in the village, or in the Great Hall, or what is a large roundhouse here, a stone roundhouse with a peat roof, when you are offered hospitality? Where's your preference? I'm trying to remember. You started in the hall last time, so you might want to go somewhere else this time.
Yeah, just outside the settlement feels
Okay.
good or whatever, right? Like you say, in that sort of no man's land or whatever.
Fine. So you've got this arc of significant overgrowth. The trees are big, nettles and thorns and other things are choking the forest, and they have burned it back. And you approach through the ashes of their efforts to keep this at bay. Fine. Then the Fates ask them to agree what form the inciting incident takes. I think Black Seren, is there a heated conversation between NPCs? Does something supernatural occur? Or does someone or something make a surprise or unexpected entrance or arrival?
I think something makes an unexpected arrival.
It's not going to be another pagan priest with 2 crows, is it?
No.
Let's hope not. Matt, on behalf of Winifred, what is it that makes an unexpected arrival or entrance? As well, arrival. I mean, it's just, you're in the open, so you're walking across this ash field where they've been clearing the undergrowth and burning off trees. What makes an unexpected? What or who makes an unexpected arrival?
I'm very tempted to say a representative of the fair folk.
Yes.
An emissary.
Fey emissary. That's cool. Which NPC, Althea, is there to meet this emissary?
Feels like it should be the chief.
Chief Tanwen. Is she out there in this no man's land, Seren, alone, or is she accompanied by one of our other NPCs?
I think she'll be accompanied by the captive.
Oh, right. And I'm just going to check back. Did we decide where that captive was from? So it's a Celtic captive.
Someone
But
who's
we
been
don't know
through the
yet whether
veil.
it's Christian or pagan.
Hmm.
Okay, whether he's. And the 3 of you come upon this. Winifred, what's the tone of the conversation they're having? Is there a supplicant? Is it an argument? What do we see?
It is a tense negotiation of terms. Neither who are willing to show anger or to outburst, but underneath both there is a simmering tension.
Okay. I think given that this is pagan territory, I'll ask Winifred whether she does anything or just observes.
I think as a visitor to these lands, it would be impropriety. It would be an overstep to intervene, especially when the fair folk are involved.
No, that's fine. I get that. So
I'm
so
very
observe.
curious, so I would like to get close and eavesdrop. Is
Oh,
what I would
let's
like
have
to
you
do.
eavesdrop then.
Yes.
Let's have you roll to look about you. You've deliberately told me you're trying not to get close. So I think I'm going to put you at disadvantage on this.
No, I'll get close. I'm curious.
Okay, you're not that polite. Okay. Roll to look about you. Roll plus sense, or call on your gods and then owe them a debt. Your choice.
I've got sense. Let's just roll straight up and see how it goes. And I have a +1 to look about you
You do.
because of my burden.
You do. The
So,
curiosity is just intense.
yes, it's only a 4 and a 1, but that makes an 8.
It's not bad, is it, eh? So
Not
on an
bad.
8, I will tell you something interesting, relevant, that comes a truth in a fiction. Yes, this is a negotiation over ownership. Clearly, the Fae or this emissary, and I think I'll describe the emissary as hooded and hunched. We don't see much of their hands. They've got long sleeves or the face, and they believe that they own something, and Tanwyn is disputing that. Does that seem like fair information?
It does. Good luck to Tanwyn.
Althea, what do you do when you come upon this? Winifred has kind of wandered close to this and is clearly kind of standing out of eye lines. So she hasn't been spotted as earwigging, but she is definitely listening in.
I wonder who. I wonder, like, I might try to sort of accomplish the same thing, but like via my bird. Like, can my bird get closer? Give me some insight into what's happening
Yeah,
there,
maybe they
or
can. Yeah, look about you with advantage. So, and are you relying on sense here? The senses that you pick up from the bird? Or do you
yeah,
want, yeah,
yeah,
okay.
that
So
feels good.
3d6, take the top 2 and add sense.
Okay, 3d6.
Oh, 3 6s. What a waste of a 6. It feels like there should be more in that one. So 7 plus, pick one. Oh, and you will gain advantage if you make use of this. I can't remember what you rolled. You didn't roll a 10, Winifred, so that's okay.
I think you got to pick up the demon playbook or something. Like
Yeah.
that's heavy. Go on.
7 plus. You do you want to get a sense of the weakness of the Fae, or do you want to learn something about the conversation or the negotiation?
Let's learn a weakness.
Weakness is to do with light.
Okay.
Swathed in this long hooded cloak down to the floor, none of the flesh of this hunched figure. The reason you're convinced it's a fae is because there are symbols woven into the cloak, and maybe it's even woven from leaves and plant material. That would make it even better. But yeah, you have a weakness for the fae for this fae of light, sunlight, light, uncertain. But anyway, Black Seren, what if anything do you do?
I will see this and I will close my eyes and I will pray to my God, because it is Christ's will that will be done. So I would
Indeed
like to
they will.
activate my Arrival move.
When you arrive at settlement, recount a past dishonorable act.
Shouldn't be hard in a place of pagans.
No, but trying to see,
No,
it's always
that would be entirely honourable.
yeah. It's always you run in the village and there's just mayhem and we kill. No, I think it was back to a time probably before Seren was in the order. Her and her friends went to a pagan village.
We know you have a sister, Sarah.
Yes. It needs to be dishonorable.
Right.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think I killed a pagan man and then ran off.
If this was before you joined the order, how did you know that this was God's will?
I think I was betrothed to this man.
Oh,
Yeah, and yeah, I heard a whisper saying, you know, you must remain pure. This is wrong. And so I killed him.
as you would. Okay. And why does that feel dishonorable now?
Because there was no it was zealous
Temper.
temper.
Fine. And then roll plus favor.
My favor is 1, so that now comes down, doesn't it?
It does.
But
roll with
yeah, I'm
minus
running
1.
at +1. It was at 1, so yeah. I roll at that 1, don't I? And then it comes down.
Yes. Sorry, I thought it had already come down, but no, you're fine.
Whew. 10. Lucky.
10. Wow, fancy that. On a 7+, you hold 1 to spend now or later to say how God's aid grants you advantage, and there's no downside to that. He doesn't expect you to do anything unpleasant while you're here. So make a note of that somewhere, and don't let me forget it. I'm going to let each of you set a scene. So let me maintain that order for a little while. Winifred, as you are watching, the Fae, or the presumed Fae, turns and heads back across this burned ground towards this forest, leaving Tanwyn and the generous captive alone. Do you want to set a scene now or in a little moment?
I definitely like to speak with them. And I think catching them right after the meeting would leave them the most divulging potentially before they start to think about what it is they've discovered. I would be happy to include my allies, but yeah.
Well, let's wait to see whether you need to rely on them.
Sure.
Yeah, because you're already foot forward in terms of getting close, and Tanwyn will see you coming, and I'm just trying to remember what do you look like? You look pretty mystic, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's a picture of me in ceremony, so I don't quite look like that, but I certainly have the trappings. There's some feathers. There's a little bit of tattooing.
Yeah, and so as a pagan Briton, she recognizes in you a wise person, a mystic, and there's a kind of slight look of hope. Might be too strong a word, but what brings you here, wise one?
The whisperings of those who call my friends from place to place. They've called us here.
Then have you come to support our claim?
I can't support it without knowing what it is.
And she points to the monolith that sits on that hillside over that monolith has always been a place of worship for us. And now now the fair folk come and they say it is not ours, it is theirs.
Well, for such an old agreement to have changed, something else must have changed. And I think that we need to know all of the details before we can support one claim or the other. I think Winifred is she is normally chatty and all about the banter. And I think she's very much playing the mystic here a little bit. She's like putting on airs, sort of.
Well, what do they tell you then? Because I'm very happy to offer you an insight here. What is it that they tell you that you think? Clearly, there is a dispute around the monolith, but what else do you learn in this conversation?
Something they were doing in the monolith that has affected the fair folk.
I'll give you a moment to think.
Sure.
And I'll invite Althea to set a scene. Now or later in the day, or in the evening. You know, it's always the second half of the day when you arrive at these places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who might you want to encounter, or
Yeah, I'm really
what
interested
might
in the
you
gener
want to-
in Caddick, the captive. And like maybe maybe it's later. I don't know if I would have access to them, you know, whatever, alone. But maybe
well, I
they're
mean, what becomes clear is once they've departed, once they've gone back into the village, Caddock goes around, goes back to the tasks he has to do around the village. So we're at a time when captives might have been taken in a raid or taken in battle, and become kind of integrated into the society.
gotcha.
And though he has a leather thong around his neck, which, you know, designates the fact that he's not, inverted commas, free, he's chopping wood. So I'm very happy for you to encounter Cadog and tell me how this scene goes.
Yeah, I think my main point or Althea's like main concern is surrounding the fact that like it's not common to see a captive involved in negotiations, right? So like what part does Caddick have to play with the negotiations, and maybe like there's some suspicion that he's involved with the Fae somehow then, or
Okay.
what have you.
So let me ask you to convince him to tell you a story then. Yeah. So roll plus subtle convince, or roll plus favor, and then end up owing your god a debt. Take your pick.
I mean,
Because I think
yeah,
I think
I
while
think it's
Winifred started in a position of kind of solid respect, you're just this stranger.
right. Yeah, I think subtle feels right here.
Okay.
Um,
See how the conversation goes.
Interesting. Could I call in can I use the favor I have or the token that I took from the like battlefield?
Very happy for you to do that.
Yeah.
How
Maybe
does that play in here?
I think Althea uses it as like an offering in well, a bribe really, but maybe slightly clever about it, right? Not necessarily just being like, here, tell me a thing.
Do you
But
want him to be a captive Christian Briton or a captive pagan Briton?
let's go with pagan.
Okay. So the token that you took from that pagan warrior would very well be an appropriate offering. So
Yeah.
how do you know what? How do you get to that to that point?
Probably offering it with the idea that, me and the people I keep company with have no use for these trinkets, right? Like, um, better served for someone of the same ilk, right? Like, and maybe not presenting it as a war trophy either, right? Like, um, that's sort of returning something back to where it belongs, I guess.
Okay, no,
Um,
I like that. I like that.
yeah, take
Um,
some solace in a bit of home, right? Like if you're a captive, right?
exactly, exactly. So by all means, gain advantage from that and roll 3d6, take the top two and add subtle.
Okay, back to ones. But anyways, so that'll be a 7. That'll be a 7, right? Yeah.
You are really killing it, Casey, tonight. So that's a 7. So on a 7, he will tell you something, but he wants something from you. What does he want? Convince them. He says what he expects of you now or later. You give this to him, and he puts it back in the palm of your hand and says, you keep that for someone who deserves it more than I. I'm grateful for the offer you've made, but I don't deserve that. So he's the undeserving, generous captive. But what you've discovered is that Tanwyn was offering him to the Fae in exchange for rights to the monolith. And he says, I'm a captive in the village. They don't treat me badly, but I'm chattel. And do
Yeah,
you
I'm
know?
curious. I'm curious. Does he know why, like, they're offering him, or like why offering it? That's my question again. Or I mean, like, again, if it falls outside of the getting an answer
Um,
from the move or whatever, then that's fine.
I think that he's kind of sanguine about it. He accepts the fact that he's an outsider here. The people here have been quite good to him since he was captured. Um, and in the same way that he doesn't deserve that token, maybe he doesn't deserve to live. And so there's a slightly kind of fatalistic, it is my lot. So I can tell you that. I'm not sure I can tell you any more than that.
No, that's good.
Seem
That's good.
reasonable?
Yeah, absolutely.
Seren, is there a scene you'd like to set?
Who was Winifred talking to?
Winifred was talking to Tanwyn, the chief.
And
Okay.
but just in case it affects what you'd like to put
No,
forward,
no. That's fine. I won't go to Tamwin, so don't worry.
Oh, no, please. But I just wanted to
time can pass.
I just wanted to follow up on what Tenwin had told me earlier, which I think is that
oh yes, your insight.
My insight, yeah. I think that that Aoife, the perverse priest, had been using that tower. I think I want to speak to this monolith as like a sort of the wizard's tower, or the place of the place of prayer to something maybe in the bog. I think there's been a story being told that there is a warrior underneath the earth that's been sleeping for centuries who will come at the time of need, and that time of need is nigh. So I think there might be some demonic stuff happening with this priest. But to the people of the settlement, it's just it's a new development. It's a little bit of a shift in the pantheon, maybe, but I think the old gods are being twisted.
Okay, so yeah, make the insight as open as you can, so you can pivot on it in different ways. So give me a phrase or sentence in that slot that you think captures some of those ideas that would allow you to launch into those ideas when you come to have a revelation or not.
Then we'll
Yeah.
leave some of those ideas behind and just say that the perverse priest has been twisting the tales of the old gods or something like that.
Yeah, the priest is being perverse, in fact.
I mean, yeah. And I don't know if the Fae are too pleased about that.
Well, that's a good point. So I think, Althea, is there something you want to list as an insight around that conversation with our fatalistic, undeserving, generous captive? Give it some thought, and then we'll come back to it. Seren, you wanted, you're very welcome to go after Tanwyn later, in the evening.
No, that's fine. I would like to walk into the hall and confront the perverse priestess who, let's be really perverse, she is suckling two sort of malformed brutes. She is quite a small woman, and she is suckling these two massive malformed creatures. They are people, but only just.
Okay. Oh wow! Yeah. Right. How when you say confront?
Well, yes, I'm going to say
suckling mother of two.
Yeah. I'm going to say, sister, what evil spell have you fallen under? What have you called upon this village?
It's very straightforward. Let's have you face a challenge, I think. And this sounds like, I mean, are you seeking to intimidate here? Because I'm wondering if this is leaning into your zealous holy fervor.
When I say sister, this is my sister.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yes. This was the village. My sister stayed here. And
wow.
I went off.
Wow. Oh, then definitely face a challenge at disadvantage, because there must have been something between you that put you apart. So are you leaning into zealous intimidation, or are you just what do you want to come out of this? Yeah, tell me what
well, I want her to tell me what she's been doing.
Okay.
I want her to be honest.
Okay, I think this is convince, but I'm going to put you at disadvantage because clearly there is difficult history back there.
Yes.
And it sounds like subtle or sense to wheedle something out of her.
Let's go with sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've been a bit too direct to be subtle around it.
Fair enough.
So sense of disadvantage, but I do have God on my side. I had an advantage in the pot.
So do you want to cancel that now?
I will cancel the disadvantage.
Okay, let's see whether God comes across for you. 2d6.
Not on this instance, he doesn't. 4.
4. Wow.
Oh, okay. I could ask God to help me though, couldn't I?
You could. Remember me? You told me you'd help me. Well, now I need you to help me.
No, I really, really need help. Yeah, so let's go even more in debt.
All you have to do is to owe a debt, and you get to re-roll one or both.
I think I'll re-roll both there.
Fair enough.
Now that's a lot better. 10.
10. Okay. On a 10, there is clearly a look of shock on her face that this should be you. I am going to remove one of the debts that you owe, because there is a rule under debt, shade, and entanglements, and you could invite me to create an entanglement, and I'm going to make this an entanglement from your past.
Yes.
I think who from your past wants help? What do they want, and why can't you refuse? She looks at you in shock and says, "Sister, I am cursed. I am cursed to suckle the offspring of the Fae."
Pernicious evil is this. It must be expunged.
I sought favor, but I am cursed now.
Never enter a bargain with the Fae.
Let me have a look where our insights are going. Althea, you finish shaping that thoughts on an
Yeah,
insight?
I was wondering if just like human quote sacrifice is somehow involved, I guess was like kind of what
Yeah.
is that? Yeah,
Put
okay.
it in. Put it in.
Cool.
Human sacrifice. That says it all. Seren, what? You get advantage of this going forward with your sister, but yeah, she claims to be the victim here.
I'm going to say cruel Fae.
Cruel Fae.
That's nice and wide.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. So the priestess is telling bad stories, but the priestess is actually the victim of the cruel Fae, and human sacrifice is cropping up. I want to give you a chance to get together, if nothing else, to consider whether you want to seek solace in friendship or manage your debt in some other way.
I'm more than happy to sit round a charcoal fire.
Turf.
Oh yeah, turf. Good job. No, yeah, nobody picked the charcoaler, did they? There is no charcoal.
No charcoal here. No.
No charcoal.
No.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot in those bonfires, but not really. So yeah, who do you want to sit round a turf fire and just you know, have a heart to heart with, Black Seren?
I think it will be Althea.
Okay, so what how does that go? It's later in the day. I'm going to cut to the evening. You're in the chief's hall. There's a turf fire burning. You're sat on the floor with bowls, eating together, and seek solace. Are you looking to, oh, you've only got yeah. So I guess you're looking to unload this pride, are you?
Yeah.
So how does the conversation with Althea go as you share in the hope of getting some relief? It says, when you share your woes with someone in the hope of you could put a named temptation behind you and clear it, say what you do and roll plus the attribute I think is most relevant.
And I will have explained to Althea that the perverse priestess is actually my sister, and she's under a curse. And I will say, she totally believes it to be her fault, Althea. But I feel my pride has put her in this situation. When I left many years ago, and left her here to join my order, I was only thinking of myself. You know, I should have taken more time and thought of her. And maybe this is God punishing me as well as punishing her.
Do you have any wise words, Althea?
Yeah, I don't know much of your God, but if he has that influence, maybe it's God that's brought you back. Maybe this is your chance to atone for those sins.
I hadn't thought of it that way. A sign of atonement. Excellent insight, Althea.
Let's see how that goes then. Roll. There we go. It's on a gift and solace. I think it's sense that you can rationalize this, or favor that you begin to reassess how this looks in the shape of God. I think it's unlikely to be favor.
Well, if I roll favour, it instantly come down by one, wouldn't
Exactly,
it?
exactly. But I feel obliged to put it on the table.
Yes. Let's go with sense then.
Okay.
So just a +1. Oh, no, didn't I need that +1? A
You
2 and a
did.
4 +1 giving 7. If
Seven.
not, I would have thought your words were completely wrong, but no, there is reason
There's
in them.
sense in that. So clear the temptation. In fact, recognize the wise words they have shared with you and honor their heritage by owing their patron a debt. So Woden will be down there near the bottom of the sheet as an alternative patron. Owe Woden a debt. Now you can seek aid from Woden now that you've opened the Woden file, but equally he may have questions or demands for you.
How do you blank it without deleting it?
I don't quite understand what you mean.
Oh, so I want to get rid of the temptation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do you just
There you
blank it?
go.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah, temptations are, yeah.
And Woden the All Father.
Yeah, let me make
Yep.
Woden a bit more visible.
You owe them 1.
Okay. Anybody else
Winifred's also got a debt. Oh no, burden. Oh, and a debt. Temptation.
Anybody else want to seek solace in friendship? Or are you content to roll with what you've got? Curiosity and longing? You're stuck with curiosity, Winifred, but you could try to clear longing if you wanted to.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then it's simply a question of whether you want to, who you want to seek solace with. The word from Black Seren is Althea's got lots of good advice.
I think I think it'd be interesting to go to Black Seren. I think Black Seren is always so like bright and direct and good with connection and so clearly devoted to her God. And some of that is admirable. And yeah.
Yeah, well then how does this conversation go? How do you share your woe in the hope that you can put that sense of desiring a longing to one side, at least for now?
I think I wonder how one can feel so close and connected with their God that they would never feel lonely or never feel abandoned or isolated.
What do you think, Seren?
I mean, I describe it as the Holy Spirit. It's always around me. And you must have a version of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit by another name will walk around you, and that always gives me a sense of I am with God.
That seems so comforting. The old gods are a little capricious and they don't exactly embrace one like a holy shroud or a spirit would.
But they are probably there and you just do not see it. But that is fine. Just knowing that they are there is all that you need to always feel as if your God is around you.
I guess I can look a little closer.
Let's see what value you take from that, Winifred.
Yeah.
Again, I'm inclined to say that is sense the rationality of it?
I was seeking sense, that's for sure.
Roll plus sense.
All right. It's an 8.
An 8, same as before then. Clear the temptation of longing. You do feel warmer by that. And in fact, maybe you're a little bit more curious about this Holy Spirit thing, because you now owe the Christ God a debt.
It sounds nice. The old gods are a bit cold and
Yeah, yeah. Maybe there's something to this nailed God business.
okay.
You'll find them down on row 65.
Thank you.
Althea, do you want a scene? You know, I'm not sure. I think your temptations are free, so but that doesn't mean you can't have a scene with one of the other characters.
Yeah, but I got nothing in mind or whatever, so we can move it along. That's cool.
Okay. Well, we are conveniently at our next hourly break. Thank you for organizing that so neatly, guys. So shall we take a pause back in our seats at 10 past the hour?
Sounds good.
Oh. So we already have 4 insights, so we're rolling at +1 without even trying. But I think what becomes clear that evening as you sit and discuss the situation with Tanwen is that the Fae, that used to be just a piece of woodland. And the Fae recently came and demanded the monolith back from their point of view. Our Effa, the priestess, she offered to suckle 2 of the Fae's offspring in return for that access. And they agreed that that would be a start. And so these Fae arrive every day and feed on her blood and then go back to the forest. But then the Fae emissary arrived and said, that was a good start. What else will you offer us? And today, Tanwen offered Cadog as a sacrifice, as well, to do to the Fae to do with what they will. Where do we go next? Eotenweard, Guardians against the monsters. Paul, you've unmuted. I don't know if that's because you want to say something or.
No, I normally have it unmuted all the time.
Althea, what do you think?
Well, I mean, gotta go check out this monolith, right? Like that feels.
It would be perverse not to visit the monolith. Okay, so so we are approaching. I think I'm right in saying an a treacherous monolith. Who wants to take the lead here? We've rather relied on Althea before. Given that this has some pagan connections, I'm kind of wondering if Winifred wants to front up here.
Ooh, yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah.
I'd be happy to if it leaves another role for Althea. Which
Oh
move
yeah,
is this
we'll get there.
Or maybe we want to hold Winifred back until we get there. I don't know.
I'd be interested in leading through this dangerous wood. It's based on all the things we've described earlier, with me fighting within the forest and calling out the name of the horned god, the green man. I think I might have some favor here.
Okay, okay. So when you approach the location of this descriptor, so you're working your way through this forest towards this monolith, which is up there on the high ground. I foreshadow the risk and consequence. What makes this approach treacherous, Winifred? What's the nature of the treacherousness here?
I think that we are being the physical treachery is we are always being grasped at, I think. Stabbed and cut and twisted up.
How are you gonna stop this doing you and the others harm then? How do you manage the risk this treacherous approach presents?
I think the psychological threat is that we can feel the heartbeat of the wilds out here. And I think I'd like to have my drum out and be matching that beat and sort of having us like blend in as though we're traveling through like an artery of this wood and not going into any areas where it would defend itself.
Okay, so I think that is probably subtle, because that strikes me as a subtle, secret, stealthy approach. Or you could go with favor.
Ooh,
In the
interesting.
hope that you're communing with the gods, you're able to kind of smooth the way. Choice is yours.
So, I mean, my subtle's not bad, but might as well just hit favor at this point.
Fine, roll plus favor.
Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. Oh, that's a 6. The old gods.
It looks like the old gods have favorites, and you ain't it right now. So that is a fail at the minute. That's 6 minus at the minute, unless you want to really implore them and offer up a debt in return for an improvement in one or both dice.
I do have a 6
You've got
in
a
my
6.
pocket,
You've got a 6 in your pocket. Forgot about the 6.
but I
Yeah.
don't know that I want to use it.
Want to keep that in the back pocket. Okay.
Yeah, so I can go for a debt and then re-roll the 1, right?
Oh, you could re-roll both of them if you wanted.
Re-roll both of them.
That
All
would
right.
drop your favor to 0.
Because I've just rolled with it, and then the debt will drop it again.
No, sorry, no. This one doesn't cost you a debt, right? This is just rolling with favor. There's not, the move doesn't say, and afterwards,
Okay.
yeah. It's only when you
Gotcha.
use it in the common moves in place of something else.
Then I will re-roll. Here goes.
Oh, a debt, re-roll.
That's
Looks
a
better.
10.
Well, that's much better. So you owe 1 debt, and on a 10, 7 plus, you manage the risk and avoid the consequence. On a 10 plus, say how you gain advantage as a result of your success. As you emerge from this treacherous approach at the foot of the monolith, how come you're at advantage?
I think the old gods sense that we are here to make right what has gone wrong, and the force is actually making way for us and supporting our passage to this strange place, knowing that one way or another it will cause an end to this standoff, which have been very taxing to them.
Okay. So now we move on to when the heroes have negotiated the risk presented by the descriptor, a monolith. Use the challenge. The challenge seed here is a place from which to see. There is some clarity to be gained here. I think it's fair to say, but you're going to have to work at it unless you get lucky. And the threat here, I think, is a reason to put it here. There is a hole, there is a crack at the base of the monolith, and clearly there is an inside to this monolith, but there is a threat within here. And the risk is that the threat will put itself between you and what you might learn. Does that foreshadowing work? There are fetishes hanging around this crack. Clearly, Effa has been using this place as a sacred space, but all is not well in this space. Okay? So with that in mind, is it Winifred who crosses the threshold first, or does Winifred back off and expect one of the others to step up?
I'm interested in seeing how the others would navigate this space, especially having just had that tete-a-tete about the Christian God and Althea's. Yeah, I would like to. I'd like to step
Does that
back.
mean you're leaning into Seren stepping up?
I don't know.
I will volunteer myself.
See if that Holy Spirit has any teeth?
Yeah, because I think I'm getting a bit of a demonic flavor here too.
Back
Okay.
friends.
So,
I will take the first blow.
so if you have taken the lead, say what you do to gain the insights I've hinted at. What do you actually do when you cross the threshold, Seren?
I think it is with shield forth and spear over the top of the shield. I think it is recant a psalm as I go forwards. God protect me in this unholy place.
Is that sense to remember it properly, or is it favor to imbue it with a bit of God's holy essence?
I think this is I'm whispering it. Can it be subtle?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Sense it is then.
Go for it. 2d6 plus sense. Oh my.
5.
5. Are you content with that?
I wouldn't mind somebody with more sense assisting.
Well, I mean, Winifred, you were watching. Althea, you were watching. Which one of you is going to step up first to help Seren? Because maybe, you didn't remember that prayer correctly, and halfway through you begin to stutter and think, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Oh Lord God, oh Lord God, oh Lord God. Althea, do you step in to help them?
I could, but my sense isn't going to help much. But I
Well,
could, I guess.
you could describe how you help, because the common move says after a hero acts, if you can help to improve their outcome, if they say you can, say what you do and roll with the attribute that the fate says is most relevant. So this could be giving Seren a stern talking to with subtle. It could be, banging her forward in the back. Come on, pull yourself together. Could be steal. Which way do you want to go?
I
Or
mean,
maybe you know the prayer. I mean, hey.
I mean, steal's my most advantageous stat to help, but maybe that is it though. Maybe it's sort of I don't think that the prayer is going to protect you less than that the spear and shield that you have. Rely on that forward.
Okay. And step up beside her. Roll plus steal to see whether this gets any better. So we're looking at a complete fail at the moment. And you've done so well so far this evening. Another one.
I'm on the polls, a 6 and 1. But with a +2 there, that'll be a 9.
Okay, so on a 9, on a 7+, your outcome improves from fail to mixed success, Seren. On a 7 to 9, you, Althea, expose yourself to some relevant danger, risk, or consequence, even if they don't. So
Cool.
in this circumstance, I think it's likely to be both of you. But let's see what the move says. So on a 7 to 9, the threat intervenes. Winifred, you're watching this. And as you watch it, you see some of these, they're straw figures, these fetishes hanging around, in broadly in humanoid shapes. And as you watch, two of them drop to the ground, and where they land, there are two of the brutes who were suckling on Aoife, the perverse priestess. And they launch themselves at you, Seren and Althea. Yeah? They are strong and they are quick. They are agile. That's better. Strong and agile. And they leap at you. Winifred, you're watching. Is there anything you do before I cut to whatever happens with Althea and Seren?
Well, following on Althea's words that steel will be more help than prayer here, I might like to empower the weapon of Black Seren to strike with advantage at these.
Okay, invoke your gift. So yeah, on a so roll plus favor.
Okay, so my favor's now at 1 from the last time. So I'm gonna get a +1 here. And I rolled an 11.
Well, that can't be bad, can it? On 7+, they empower your gift and you succeed. So Seren's spear is enhanced. We'll come to that in a moment.
I don't actually use it here, but use it up, but I'm gonna be holding the talisman that I pulled off of those warlike pagans.
Okay. But that cost you a debt to the old gods, that empowerment. On a 7 to 9, doesn't matter. On 10+, but you get to pick. Your gift has greater impact, scope, scale, or duration than even you had hoped. You gain advantage, or they are disadvantaged, or your patron refuses your new debt and erases an existing debt as well. Are you tempted by that?
I like the sound of having no debts, but I also like the sound of extending the duration of the empowerment here.
So you can stretch that from 1 action by Seren to 2, or the scope of it, so you empower both Althea's axe and Seren's spear.
That sounds good. Let's do that.
Okay. What does that look
Sweet.
like in the fiction? What do we see on screen?
I think the prayer sort of trails off, and then Althea steps up and says those words and maybe hits their axe on the stone or something like that to punctuate it. And it's almost like a different prayer has been said to maybe to the god to whose talisman I have or something like that. And so I think yeah, that I'm not sure it has a very distinct like visual effect.
No, it's fine.
It might be a more internal thing. The warrior's heart.
So Seren, you are our warrior incarnate, but Althea likes to step into the unknown first. So I'm going to go to Althea first. How do we see you dealing with either agile or strong as this thing leaps at you? They're smaller, but they're stocky.
So it's should we change that a bit there, Alan? Let's have one massive and one really sort of super quick and small. But is it treated as 2 creatures with 2 things?
Yeah,
or is it one
that's a
creature
clever
with 2
idea.
things?
One big one, one small and quick one. Because yeah, we're on the clock. Go for it. Good plan. Althea, do you attack the big one or the quick one?
The quick one, for sure.
Fine, go for it. How do you pin it down so its agility is somehow curtailed?
I think it's like a grapple, or like a sort of like a wrestling thing, right? Or like a sweep the leg, so to speak, or whatever, right?
That sounds like steel to me. Roll to confront a threat with steel.
An advantage.
At advantage, because of the empowerment.
Yes. Okay. 3d6. So that'll be a 12.
Well, now you are killing it.
No,
So
yeah.
on a
Hopefully,
seven plus, you pin it to the ground. That's done. But I say I think that in doing that, you have to cast your axe to one side. So you're currently without weapons, yeah?
Yep.
On a 10 plus, you also say how you force them where you want them, so they're disadvantaged, dodge or deflect their attack, sacrifice, or let me cut to the chase. It now has no defenses. Do you immediately seek to humble it, i.e. defeat it finally?
Yeah, for sure. That sounds, yeah,
And is
definitely sounds like
this,
the right option.
pressing down on it? Is it speaking to it? How are you seeking to, humble it, to put it at your mercy?
Yeah, I guess maybe it's just sort of, I mean, there's got to be like rocks and rubble lying around. I think it's probably more of that mad dash for something to just sort of like cave its head in with, I suppose, huh?
Fine, go for it. Roll plus steel.
That'll
Looks like a
be
10.
670. That'll be a 10. Yep.
It is at your mercy. Do you receive it and gain a debt? Have it owe you a debt, or do you end it?
End it.
And when you smash it, it turns back into that little crushed straw fetish.
Okay, cool.
On a 10 plus, do you a charm or trophy, or an undefined insight?
Ooh, insight, I suppose. Just
Fine. You might want to start thinking about that.
yes, absolutely. Yep.
Seren, there's this hulking thing. What do you do?
Let's attack it with a spear. Charge it with a spear.
Charge it with the spear. Go for it. Roll plus steel.
7, 8, 9.
9. So close. You want to get to 10? Okay.
That would be a debt, wouldn't it?
It would, but it
but
would mean you could humble it immediately.
Yeah, there's no roll for the debt. It just increases by 1, doesn't it? Yeah, why not? It's not costing me anything.
Owe a debt and re-roll the two ones, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll roll 2d6.
Oh, fine.
5. So 5 and 6 plus 2, 13.
How do you end? How do you bring this thing to a place where you can decide whether you
So
want
you
it?
said there was a hole in this monolith.
There was.
So yeah, I'll just charge at it. Spear will go through it, and then I'll put the spear through the hole, so it is now sort of pinned to the monolith.
Okay. I think that. So you. Whoops, Daisy. I think that. I think that your spear breaks.
Okay.
Yeah. You pinned it in place, but the shaft breaks. On a 10 plus, though, you could do any of those things, or you could immediately seek to humble it.
Let's humble it.
Fine. How?
I think with a broken off bit of the spear, I then jab it in its throat.
Okay, roll plus steel.
9.
9 on a 7 plus. They're at your mercy. Do they receive it? And if so, you will gain a debt. The Fae will owe you a debt. Or do you end them? Do you threaten?
I think I've got to remain non-zealous, and yeah, the Fae can owe me a debt.
And I think that the trees behind you kind of move, and there's a whisper through the leaves that say, "We accept your justice. So they owe you a debt. And you let it goes back to being the fetish. And now, though, Seren, you are in a position to gain an insight here. Yeah?
So myself and Althea have got an insight to fill in.
Althea's got one. You've got one that you picked up last time. And there's one
Yeah.
to be gained from this location. So what I'm wondering is if Althea were to cash in their insight, you were to cash in the one that you picked up in after the battle, we could let Winifred phrase one here, and then everyone has a go at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah? So, Seren, what is it that you learned at the battlefield that suddenly makes sense?
I'm going to say forgiving Faye.
Fine. Oh, hang on. I think I've got that wrong. That was Winifred, wasn't it? Okay.
No, the twisted. No, that was mine because I had a free invocation from.
Sorry, it said Sarah rather than Seren. I was confused.
Yeah, I had a free invocation from the battle
You
that
did.
I could just use.
You did. So we've got forgiving Faye. Althea, what insight have you been granted at this
I put
point?
in that Fey Guardians thing.
Oh, sure. So you did.
Just those,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fine. So Winifred, what do you learn from this? I mean, with this one, you'll have one in hand. So what do you learn from this place, Winifred, that you think you can weave into the insights we already have? I will admit that I am pushing rather for time.
Is there something written on the monolith?
Certainly there were carvings on the monolith.
I think they are words of beseechment. They are invitations. They are a call to something. This place calls to a power.
Invitations to power? Does that seem like?
Yeah.
Yeah?
To strange
Okay.
power.
To strange power, right. You edit that to strange. That's fine by me. So are we in a position to try for a revelation? Yeah?
I like to think so.
I think you might be. Let me begin with Althea. I'll clear those check marks. You don't even need to use them all. One of these can be surplus to requirements to get the +3. So Althea, where do you want to start?
Yeah. Is it? Oh no, I'm trying to. I'm trying to connect them to each other. That's not how it works.
All I need you to do is to connect two of them to kick us off.
Okay, yeah. So maybe, yeah. Okay, so in that instance, it's got to be like the human sacrifice and the Fey Guardians. I get the feeling that the Fey take people and turn them into,
into these
vessels
creatures.
for these. Yeah.
Okay. Seren, where do you want to go after that? Which one do you want to try to add into this narrative around Fey taking human captives and turning them into these creatures? Maybe that's why they end up feeding on your sister's blood.
I think it's the twisted machinations of the old gods. Yeah, they're not happy with the village turning towards the Fae.
Okay. So this is a Fey on old god issue. Winifred, where might you go?
I guess it's that the vile and twisted tales of the old gods are
Yeah.
an effort to change the narrative and to sway the people of the city to be more susceptible to the beliefs of the priestess and to support the Fae in this.
I like that. Where would you go next, Althea?
Feels like there's a couple of good ways around it, I suppose, but yeah, the invitations to strange power, they feel like yeah, this monolith has something to do with it, right? Like, ooh, maybe there's sort of in a strange way that like this priest has interpreted them, right? Like they're not straightforward, and so it's something that's been interpreted by this priestess as a way to yeah, achieve their goals or whatever, right? But
Okay.
yeah, or maybe there's some sort of instruction or whatever, right, that was taken off of this thing that yeah has yeah.
Seren, can you get us to +3 by using either cruel Fae or forgiving Fae?
I think the Fae are cruel, and yeah, they want power over the village.
Okay. So, what I need to do then is to ask you because I think we're probably going to do this pretty shorthand, given where we are on the clock. So what I'm going to suggest is that we do the revelation move as written. So I'm going to start with Seren and ask who or what embodies the darkness here? Who's the bad guy or the embodiment of the bad guy?
I'm going to go for the vicious healer, Sinog.
Oh, who we barely had on screen. Right, the vicious healer. Okay, why? How does the vicious healer play into this narrative that you've described to me?
Human sacrifice. He doesn't always heal people. He provides sacrifice.
Sacrifice. ... To whom? Because we seem to have a Fae old gods thing going on here. Let me ask Winifred, who is our vicious healer sacrificing when he fails to heal people, unfortunately? Who does he sacrifice them to? Or is it somebody else? Or something else? I don't know.
I wonder, I do want to, I'm interested in a third power.
The third
and we
way.
haven't really talked much about the unholy bog.
We haven't.
Um,
What is it that makes the unholy bog unholy? Who's at the root of this?
I think there's whispers from the waters and steaming sulfurous bubbles.
Sulfurous bubbles. Could this be
yeah.
the cohorts of hell interfering here? I wonder. Okay. Where and when do we see the confrontation, Althea?
Ooh. Oh, I was already unmuted.
Where do you want to confront the vicious healer as demonic communer through the spirits of human sacrifice?
Yeah, so maybe after they aren't healed and they die, they have to take the bodies to the bog for them to be like taken by the bog. So
yes.
it's gotta be there, right?
At the bog, caught
yeah.
red-handed. ...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and why don't we No, I should ask you this question. Seren, which NPC do you want present apart from our vicious healer?
Haddock, the captive.
Haddock, of course. Poor old Caddock is being bandied back and forth. Winifred, do you want another NPC in the scene that we're going to describe?
I think that it can probably do, although, yeah. I mean, if the priestess isn't behind it, it can be certainly interesting to have her there. Let's just leave that as a potential. Maybe she'll spring from the shadows.
Question mark, Effa the priestess. And finally, Althea, what is it as you approach the bog that you fear most as you confront the darkness?
I think it's this healer, right? Like a healer not healing people is something that's like perverse in a completely different way. And there's a bit of the unknown power, right? Like I'm familiar with the old gods, and I'm familiar with the Fae, and I'm familiar with like, you know, these sort of deals and goings-ons, but this is a little bit beyond us into this, you know, this realm of the darkness. So yeah, it's probably the unknown.
Fine, that something may come out of the bog. Okay, now then who rolled last time? I can't remember. Was that?
I think I did.
Yeah, I think you did. So Althea, why don't you roll for this one? Let's have you roll +3 to see how we are going to epilogue out here. That looks like a 10 to me. Okay, so on a 10+, it goes exactly as you expected. There's no 7 to 9, there's no failure. It plays out exactly as you've described. You have identified the vicious healer appropriately, but I have some questions as we just epilogue this scene out. Althea. No, you came up with it. I should ask somebody else what form it takes. Seren. These unknown powers, this third power in this that's fomenting this difficulty between Fae and the old gods, what form does it take? What emerges from our vicious healer that embodies that third power?
I think it's a giant rises out of the bog that is made up of body parts of the people that have been lobbed in.
Oh, yes.
We wanted gore, so we've got sort of dripping bits of people.
Rotting, fetid, moss-covered. This seems to me to be a flesh demon in Monster Manual 4, I think. Winifred, what do you do in this scene as you defeat the darkness? What's your role in it?
I think it's a little bit a bit of a mediator, a bit of a peacemaker, so that these two sides that are opposed can turn their attention to this other threat. So I think I'm trying to harmonize the Fae and the old gods here. I'm trying to like put a call out to all that dwell in these lands to rise up in defense of them and to put down their petty grievances.
Okay, I'm imagining some Fae brutes bounding up to the bog to take part in this. I will ask you in a moment what form the intervention of the old gods on your side takes. Althea, what's your part in this?
I was gonna say blinding it, but if it's stumbling around with a bunch of
there's lots of heads,
bunch of heads, yeah, that's not so good. So maybe
we do have an innocent bystander at play here, which is Cadog the captive, who's kneeling there with our vicious healer with a knife at his throat.
Fair enough. Yeah, maybe it's intervening there then, I guess. Yeah, Caddick. I think I kind of like Caddick for some reason, right? Like, maybe
You
the
created
gesture of
him.
turning down. Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe turning down the necklace endeared him to Althea a bit. And maybe this is the thing, right? That a debt I owed from the conversation, or not a debt, but like, yeah. So maybe it's just, oh, it's the worm tongue Saruman thing, right? Like just shooting that healer in the back.
Simple and straightforward. An arrow between the shoulder blades never goes amiss. Seren, how do we finally, because we see the Fey brutes bounding up the hill to the bounding down to this peat bog. We've got this giant monstrous flesh demon. What's your part in this?
Well, I am without spare, and the actually only weapon I've got is a knife. And Matt did nicely line up, so we want the old gods to intervene.
We
Matt
do.
nicely put my sister in the situation, possibly. So I think she is the next. He's going to do a double sacrifice. So yeah, the sister was next, and she's bound to a post. So basically, I'll cut her free, and then she can lay down some old god magic. As Althea is arrowing him, she's palpatining him, evil.
Winifred, we've got Effa, the perverse priestess, kind of offering her services. What form does the intervention of the old gods take, and how does it end this great flesh demon, this third power? There are demons in the land.
Well, I know that we have a dream of David and Goliath on the table.
We do.
And I had earlier this session, the old gods had empowered Black Seren's strike. And I think they need some way to act through. And based on my call to all forces to work together in this moment, I think maybe after Black Seren frees her sister, she might take up a stave from the wood and find that it's petrified and it's primed to pierce the heart of this monstrous thing. You tell me, Paul, but I like to think that the old gods are lending you accuracy and insight and daring in order to do this.
Yeah, excellent. As the two brutes distract it, I can go in for the kill with this petrified spear.
And your sister and I are calling to the old gods to guide your hand.
And the flesh demon is destroyed. And I guess the question is, the healer dies from the arrow shot. So, yeah. So I think that's our epilogue out, given our timings. And I'm sorry that was a little bit curtailed.
That's great.
But I'm now wondering whether I should have not have offered you a battle. But there you go. But you've got different aspects of the game. So thank you for that. Stars all round for leaning into time and place and a system you weren't necessarily familiar with. Any stars, well, I suppose roses and thorns at this point, but roses to offer anyone, thorns to highlight. Paul, any roses, any thorns?
some great RP around the table, and some again, nobody stepping on anybody's toes. Really, really good. Yeah. Apart from that, system wise, still favor might need a little tweak. Maybe not for next week, Alan, but I'm still never too sure whether I just roll with favor or I roll with favor and pay
And
it
it owes you one.
It seems confusing at times, my friend.
Yeah, there are two different ways to use favor. That's a good point. I shall think about it. Casey, any roses, any thorns?
Roses all around. Yeah, like it was, picking up on like it's a bit of a time crunch or whatever. Like we all kind of like worked that well, I think, or whatever. And yeah, super cool. Even in that sort of, like you say, I'm glad we got to see like a different part of the game. I was unaware that there was like a traveling move or whatever in between settlements or whatever. That was really cool. Yeah, and like I say, even though we kind of like were moving pretty quick, we managed to fit in, like Paul said, some good RP and some characterization that was really cool. Yeah, just all around, definitely cool. Thanks for running it, Alan, off the request. So yeah, definitely.
Very welcome. Very welcome.
Yeah.
Matt, any roses, any thorns?
I think we did an excellent job at passing around the baton this session. It felt very dynamic, and it was a very gracious turn-taking sort of game. Everyone teed each other up. Casey, when I mentioned that the overgrowing woods, you immediately were like, "Oh, and there's scorched earth," so that they're trying to keep it at bay. You jumped right on that. I thought that was very kind of you. Paul, I loved the profane perverse priestess and then the sister reveal. I thought that was really awesome, and loved our action scenes. And Alan, the battle system was so cool. I'm really glad we got to do that. I love structured moves like that, where it's like, here's a scene, here's a scene, here's a scene, and then we just roll to see how each of them go and get to describe a little shot. So I'm delighted we did that, and I always love an epilogue at the end. I think we were really tying things together nicely. So
Yeah,
awesome session.
Oh, good. I'm pleased you enjoyed it. And yeah, I thought I really enjoyed the Seeking Solace moves. I thought you really got the feel for that move as it was intended. So thank you for that. So yeah, great RP all the way around. And you know, you didn't mess about. In fact, we're going to finish 5 minutes early. Who knew? So with that, I will thank you very much. Or is it okay if I publish this?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Then I will stop the recording.